What's up, everybody? Welcome to your pre-show for the Kind of Funny Gamescast. I'm one of your hosts, Greg. This is Imran. This is Michelle. This is Raul. This is Jean-Luc.
Hi.
You know Imran and I, we're just the normal clowns who are here all the time. But these guys made Life is Strange 2, all by themselves. Just these three people. Nobody else helped.
Sorry, team.
You are, if you didn't know, today is a Spoilercast for Life is Strange 2. It's not yet. So if you're here going, oh, I didn't realize that's what today was, no big deal. You get the pre-show where we won't spoil Life is Strange 2. But then when the Gamescast starts, it's on. But you have a chance to get out of it and do it. I'm going to have, and I'm going to bend the rules this time. I'm going to have YouTube chat open throughout the show so I can look over if you have questions, Patreons, about what is going on over that. But for right now, hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you guys so much for coming out today and making all this time.
Yeah, nice to be there.
Thank you for having us here.
So, Raul, you said, where were you before this?
Yeah, this morning with Jean-Luc we have been to Pixar Animation Studio just have a visit. And
How was that?
It was incredible. It's like we were like children, like it's a dream come true, and just to see the the big lamp and the balloon.
Exactly.
We were like, we want to stay here.
Yeah,
We took our tourist picture with the lamp. She smiled.
No, it was it's awesome.
Yeah,
so thank you again for the one who bring us here, and it was.
Yeah,
awesome.
they're not watching. Don't worry.
No, I know.
If they might watch the
He's
Gamescast,
walking.
they ain't pre-show watching right now.
We can say his name, but because John Lasseter is a little bit shy, so
Yeah, of course.
we can mention him.
He's not even there anymore, right? That ended badly.
I don't know. I don't want to talk about it.
When did you guys get in?
1 hour ago.
I just arrived 1 hour,
Oh
one
my
hour ago.
God,
from,
dude.
From New York. We had our plane at 8 this morning, so we get up at 5 or something.
Okay,
I'm a
good.
bit tired. So
Yeah,
sorry,
no,
sorry
that's-
for if I say weird things.
If you just, you'll be like my wife and just drift into the French. Like, I don't know what
I
you're
would do
saying.
Or fall asleep.
Imran, how are you feeling? We've been up early too.
Yeah, I nearly took a nap between Games Daily and here.
Yeah.
Like, not an intentional nap, but just I kind of feel like myself fading a little bit, but I'm going to try and stay up, but that's just going to make me more exhausted.
Sure. Yeah. Instead, we did the tried and true thing of we ate McDonald's.
Yes.
We're like, we've been working hard, punishing our bodies, so let's punish it more with bad fast food.
I made the mistake of, eating half a chicken McNugget, then looking at the other half. I'm like, no, this is awful. I shouldn't be doing
You don't
this.
want to. You don't want to ask questions. You don't want to ask any questions about that and stuff. So yeah, it's one of those things. I'm so excited to talk to you guys about your game. But in the pre-show, we can't talk about your game because I want people obviously to look at it and have a clue. So instead, have you guys been playing anything? Jean-Luc, do you have time to play anything right now?
Actually, I'm not playing anything because I don't have time, but I'm planning to play Death Stranding during the Christmas holidays.
Sure.
Because I don't want to play it 1 or 2 days and then leave it because I'm here in the United States and then take it back. So I will take time at Christmas to play Death Stranding. I think I really want to.
Raul, what are you playing next?
Yeah, I think it was 1 year. I haven't played anything, so I'm happy that the game is finished now. And because of the Black Friday on Switch, I have to admit I've bought a lot of little games. So the last one is Obra Dinn, The Return of Obra Dinn.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
So yeah, I will play this one first maybe, and Grease, all those things I've.
Obra Dinn, I still haven't played either. I got it on Switch as well. And I originally when it came to PC, I screwed around with it a little bit and I was like, I don't know. And then after I played not Her Story, what was the one this today? Telling Lies. Telling Lies from this year. And I was talking about it. So many people were like, if you loved that, because I had a cup of coffee and I had Telling Lies and then I had a notebook and I was taking all my notes. They're like, you would love Obra Dinn if you played it that way. I was like, crap, I gotta do that.
How many times did you spend playing solitaire in Telling Lies?
I spent way too much time playing solitaire and Telling Lies, and that was then when I figured out there was a time was actually moving, I was like, oh no, I've wasted so much time doing this.
I'm actually afraid of that part in Telling Lies because I don't know how to play solitaire.
Really?
It just passed me by somehow.
Dude, one of the top 3 PC games of all time.
Anywhere, then you see if it works.
Okay, so I'm afraid that once I get to the part supposedly there's something different about this version that is part of the overall puzzle.
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna get it. I'm not gonna understand what's different because I don't know how to play the game.
Sure. Michelle, what's next for you? What are you gonna play?
So I'm playing a lot of Magic Arena.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the kind of game that's completely different of what we are doing. But
No.
yeah, I was playing Magic a long time ago, just real cards.
Yeah.
And then having the new client and playing online, I just got back into it. So it takes me a lot of time.
When you guys are working on a game like Life is Strange, is there any time to play other stuff to keep abreast of what's happening in the industry, or is it just heads down? You got to make your game.
I think it's a bit of both. Most of the time, it takes a big part of our time working on the game, and I guess that's why I'm playing games like Magic Arena or Overwatch, just to play something completely different than what we're
something
creating.
You can jump in, jump out of.
Yeah, and just really playing something that wouldn't be work, because when we play a storytelling, a narrative game, we're mostly playing it like looking at it for work, like
you take some notes and they've done that. Okay, maybe we could do that. And
yeah, of course.
Yeah. So for example, I've been back to Red Dead Redemption, but there are a lot of very good narrative inside this one, and I couldn't play this while doing Life is Strange, because you play a narrative game the whole day, testing it, giving some feedbacks. When you're home after, you just don't want to play again the same kind of game. So but it depends, and the team give us a lot of feedbacks about the industry also, because they are playing a lot. So they go, you should just have a look at this one because of this reason, etc. So
you're like, I don't have time.
We try to stay focused, to stay aware of what is in the industry. Yeah, we should.
And for me, I try to avoid, when I'm working on video game like Life is Strange 2, I try to avoid narrative games. You know.
Oh sure.
For example, I played Red Dead Redemption, but I didn't took it as a narrative game. It's more like an action with good story. You know, for example, a game named Detroit.
Quantum Tree
was released. Was released when we were working on Life is Strange 2, and I didn't want to play it while we were writing, and not to be, out of when we were focusing on Life is Strange 2, not to be disturbed by other stuff.
You're focusing on your story and how to tell your story and not having to work.
Yeah, I don't want to. I'm like a sponge, and I really take a lot of influence of movies.
You look like a sponge.
I was going to say Jean-Luc.
Sponge Jean-Luc. And I don't want to be, too much. Influenced. Yeah. Thank you very much. And here we go for the shitty French accent.
Life is Strange 2 is so much better than Detroit.
Big Dog, I see you moving over there. What's happening? You're trying to...
Pre-show stuff.
Oh, yeah, we're still pre-showing?
Yeah, I gotta fix the mics.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's possible to ask water. So
you want some water?
Thank you. No, just
water.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Thank you so much.
We'll fix it. What are you gonna do with the microphones?
I mean, I can do that. Come back. I'm just gonna bring his up.
Bring some.
Do you want me to push him in too? I'll push him. Yeah. We go way back, Michelle and I. Don't worry. You can push him around. Don't worry about it. These guys, Raul, Jean-Luc, don't push him around. Yeah, we got him the Lego game. Remember that?
Yeah.
You did.
So that was one of my favorite things. We were out drinking some Life is Strange rap party or something. You didn't play it?
No, I mean, you told me that you never played Lego, and you sent me some.
Yeah, I was like, Lego Dimensions is the thing you need to play. And he's like, I don't know. And I bought it for you and sent it to France.
Shouldn't it be the opposite? Shouldn't be developer buying gifts?
No, it's the opposite way. See, people got it all wrong. They think, the journalists are on the take. It's the devs. There's a reason there's a Life is Strange 2, and it's me and Lego Dimensions, all right? I said, you can have Lego Dimensions if you make another one. They're like, all right.
Have to avoid that hot Lego narrative.
I know, right? You don't want to cross it over, the portals and stuff. You need tests?
Yeah, Michelle, can I get you to stand?
Okay.
I'm going to push you in.
Oh, I can come closer to the mic.
Just a bit.
Okay.
I do this to people all the time. Don't panic. See?
Thank you.
Wow.
My first time, everybody.
So, start from the beginning.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Repeat.
One last thing. Are you comfortable? Do you want it up a little bit? Or are you
No, I'm pretty fine. Right. No, I'm the smallest one.
He's quite small. Yeah.
Now, in the chat, Madognik96 pipes up, and he has a question for you. But before I get to that, I want you to know that I'm pretty sure he is, in the Kind of Funny community, one of the biggest Life is Strange fans. Because we put out the call for questions, and usually that means somebody writes in with one question. He wrote in with one thing, but it's just question after question after question that he has specifically about it. But before we get to anything about Life is Strange, he's asking, what games are you guys looking forward to next year? Like we're talking about what you're going to play during break, but when you have a little bit more free time, and I assume whatever's happening next year. Now, I'm not fishing for what's going on. Where is Life is Strange 3? Don't worry about it.
I guess we all have the same one.
Yeah.
The easy one.
Yeah.
Is
Last of Us 2.
Yeah.
I can't wait for this one.
Yeah.
Very. So Last of Us Part 2.
I would say Cyberpunk.
Sure, of course. Yeah. Does Last of Us speak to you from the narrative or the gameplay or everything?
To be honest, for me, I think the gameplay of the first one was a lot of like the gameplay of Uncharted series,
Sure.
Yeah, arena, you have to cover, to shoot and stuff. And it's more like for me, the story is unbelievable in the first one, and I really, really want to know what happened to Eli and...
Yeah.
And I think that what I really loved with the first Last of Us is I'm usually not a really action game, or I don't really like that much the Uncharted games.
Yeah.
But with The Last of Us, I was so engaged with the story, and they managed so well to blend the gameplay and the story that I was really happy to play all the action sequences, and the gameplay was really fine with me because I wanted to protect Ellie, or I wanted really to advance the story.
Sure.
And the gameplay blended so well with that.
Yeah. I think Last of Us 2 is at the top of my list, I think, for 2020. And I got to go play it a couple months ago now. And just the improvements they've made from Last of Us 1, from taking like the combat you already know, but then putting it into...
You played it. You did.
Yeah. Way
Awesome.
bigger environments and stuff where it is possible to actually like have... I'm going to attack the situation this way. It goes wrong. You get out and have a chance to like lose them and reposition and come back, or have them break off individually and take them that way. Plus, you got to kill a bunch of dogs. They say you don't have to kill them. I'll believe when I see it. I don't trust this Neil Druckmann to say. All right, because I was killing a lot of dogs.
I mean, he famously dislikes dogs.
It's true. Every time he sees Portillo, kicks him. Everybody tweeted Neil Druckmann. Why do you kick dogs? Don't do that. Please don't do that.
No.
You won't understand it.
We have a long story with dogs.
Yeah.
That's what makes it funny. Neil Druckmann working really hard on a video game, coming up for air, and there's 30 people like, why do you kick dogs? Greg Miller says you kick dogs.
Oh, and I'm disappointed because I was waiting a lot for the new game from the guy who did Firewatch.
Camp of Santo.
So
Valley of the Gods.
Valley of the Gods,
Yeah.
and I heard that it was postponed. So,
Valve.
Yeah. I'm
Games
sad.
go into Valve, they don't come out.
Or maybe it will come out in 6 years or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a VR
Oh.
experience we weren't expecting.
Half-Life 3.
Yeah.
Alex.
Alex, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's because of that we don't have
Yeah.
in the Valley of Gods.
And you don't have any helmet to test
No,
it,
but
so you can't play
it's
it.
maybe the game who will make me buy a VR stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really love Half-Life for the story, basically.
Do you guys, as creators, like, do you ever entertain the idea of doing something in VR, or is it?
It depends.
I'm not fishing.
Yeah, we have worked on something together, but it was after Life is Strange 1. And,
Okay.
we can't really talk about it, but
Sure.
I'm maybe the one most interested in VR for sure, but I push them to test. And yeah, I think on a narrative point of view, it's quite incredible what you're going to do. And for me, it's really the future, and I really believe in this media, even if it's quite complicated still to test it and to have good games on it. But it's when you see Valve jumping in, I think
It's a
it
good
could
sign.
be a huge
Yeah.
change.
Yeah, that's gonna be
and
people wanting
on
to do
a
it.
really on a narrative and emotional point of view, it's crazy how fast you dive into an universe and a story. And for sure we will have a look. Continue. I've just get the quest and it's
Dude,
so
so
cool.
cool.
Oh my
it's
God.
easy to play and it's.
I tweeted about it the other day. Like, I don't use it as much as I want to. No, don't apologize to me. You're in a safe spot. We're talking about Quest. I don't get to use it as much as I do. And so whenever I do put it back on and get back in, it's always that moment of like, I can't believe this is real. I can't believe it works so well. I had left it on, with the rush that's been going on in our lives. I think I hadn't used it in like 3 months. It had just been tucked away. And I was like, I want to play it, but I'm sure it won't have power. It had like 70% of the power still. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is such a well-built system.
Yeah.
BKD, what do you guys say?
Just a heads up, I have charged it multiple times in those 3 months.
Not the one in my house under my couch. The one at the office, sure. Yeah, no.
No, I'm talking about the one in
You come to my house and you charge all my things? I would pay for that service if Kevin came and just charged my controllers and quests just in case I wanted them.
Open your closet. What are you doing? Charging all the iPads.
Say no more, fam. Walk out. The Jen will unlock the door for you on your way out.
Yeah, my only issue with VR is that I'm really easily sick. I have a lot of motion sickness.
Sure.
So I need to try the new one if it's better. But even the most simple, basic experience with the previous headset, I was getting motion sickness really quickly. So that's an issue for me.
Yeah. For me, any game where I don't have to like physically locomotion around is pretty easy. Like Beat Saber or Astrobot, those games worked really well for me.
Yeah.
And some others like, this is making me way too sick.
Yeah.
My wife Jen is the same way, where she can't do most VR, but when we brought home the Quest and I had her play Beat Saber, she was okay. So there's hope for you, Michelle. There's hope for you.
Yeah, I think.
I will
try.
I will lend it to you.
Yeah.
We just stopped the pre-show. The pre-show goes on for an hour while he plays Quest. No, we should get into the real show. Are you ready, Kevin?
There's no notes anywhere.
I can share this doc with you. There really isn't, though, any notes.
It's fine.
Oh, I guess you're going to need it for ads, right?
Yeah,
All right, Kevin.
Can we pick
know?
any question or you choose for
Oh,
us?
you can talk to the chat if you want. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Obradin is out on Switch. Yes. So I can answer this one.
I can confirm that to you right now.
Yeah. I'm not working for them, but it's really cool to play.
So are these the developers of Life is Strange?
Yeah, we are.
I think,
Yes, we are.
I think we are.
So maybe we can just. So we have worked on the first Life is Strange, on also the awesome adventure of Captain Spirit. That was an introduction of Life is Strange 2 and Life is Strange 2. And Jean-Luc here is a writer, and we both are the directors. So we share a lot of stuff with Michel.
I think that someone really likes your boots, Jean-Luc.
Oh, this is Doc Martin stuff.
You don't say any brand.
Get
here.
that sponsorship.
I don't have right to say the name of the brand. So
They don't pay me
I
to
won't
say
say
it.
Doc Martin. Sorry.
Kevin, you good now?
Yeah.
All right. You guys, Jean-Luc, Michel, do you want water? Do you want anything?
Oh,
I'm
okay.
fine.
And
Thank
also,
you.
if you want something in the middle of the show, just we're a very laid-back show. Okay. Shout it out. Walk off. We'll figure it out. Don't worry about it.
Not professional at all.
There's nothing professional in any way about this whatsoever, except that now we're going to do it. All right. Everybody's ready? Kevin, you ready?
Yep.
All right, here we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special episode of the Kinda Funny Gamescast. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside Imran,
Howdy.
Michelle,
Hi.
Raul,
Hello.
and Jean-Luc.
Hi.
You guys know me and Imran. We're here on the Gamescast pretty much every week unless we're traveling or doing something cool. Isn't that right, Imran?
It's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Never do anything cool.
But these three folks over here made a little game called Life is Strange 2. Yay!
Thank you.
We're all big fans of it here in the office. Such big fans, we invited you to come to the Gamescast for this Kinda Funny Gamescast Spoilercast, strictly about Life is Strange 2. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't played Life is Strange 2, pause this podcast, pause this YouTube video, go play the game, and then come back to it. We'll wait. This is evergreen content, as the kids say, Kevin. It doesn't go bad, all right?
I
It'll
did it
be
in 2 days. You could do it easily.
Exactly. Yeah. And you will want to keep playing it once you start, which will be one of our main topics of conversation once we get going here. So before we even get into, before we spoil, we'll have a top level conversation for everybody here who just wants to hang out for a second and say hey. Worth pointing out, of course, this episode of the Kinda Funny Gamescast is brought to you by Upstart, Trojan, and Quip, and of course our Patreon producers, Fantasy Critic Games and James Hastings. Kevin, is there some kind of usual? Does James Hastings have like a catchphrase or a noise we do?
I don't listen to the show.
But like you know how we have like the Predator, right? So like
You can make something up right now.
James Hastings. James. All right, James, that's your thing now. Thanks for being a Patreon producer. Fantasy Critic Games, you got to stick around a little bit longer. All right, well we'll get to you eventually. Don't worry about it. So no spoilers. Imran.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you like Life is Strange 2?
It went from a game I wasn't probably going to play this year, maybe just like sometime next year,
Yeah.
to probably my top 3 of the year again.
Yeah.
Thank
think
you. What are the second, the 1 and 2?
1 and before that are like Control and like Fire Emblem.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
So like this game is just like
That's
a
cool.
notch below those in terms of what I liked personally, but I still really love the game in a way I didn't expect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, Life is Strange 2 for me has a lot of the same Gregisms as Life is Strange 1, I think. Whereas when Life is Strange 1 arrived, episode 1, I remember getting it, starting it, and not really being able to make out what is it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's going? And I remember I was like, I'll get back to it, and then let 2 or 3 episodes stack up, came back, and that's when it was on. And it was like, I'm playing all these right now, I'm binging it. And Life is Strange 2, obviously, I already knew that. I'd already fallen in love with Life is Strange. I already fallen in love with, I fell in love with Michelle here. But it was. Okay, cool. I started episode 1, and then there was a big gap to episode 2, and I started episode 2, and I was like, where was I? Wait, who's Sean? Who's Dan? And then episode 3 came, and I was like, did I play episode 2? And I looked, and I was like, I did. No, I did. And I let them all stack up getting ready for this. And so when episode 5 hit last week, to be able to go in there and play through them all again.
You replayed episode 1 and 2?
No, but I went and did my scrub through on
Okay.
YouTube of like, wait, remind me of who everybody is, where did I leave off, the choices I made versus the choices you could have made. But these last 3 episodes have been that, oh man, it's bedtime. I know it's bedtime, but I'm like, I can squeeze out another chapter,
Yeah.
kids. I just want to see where this is going.
It's only 10 o'clock. I can finish this episode in like 12:30. It's like, yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
I'm glad
exactly.
I did that.
Exhausted. Now I need to go to bed. But yeah, it's like, it's yet again you guys nailing what you do, but what makes Life is Strange so special. And I want to talk about that in a non-spoilery context of what was it like to have that challenge in front of you? Like, you did Life is Strange 1, and I may be speaking just as myself or, internally, or, a games guy on our side of the industry. There wasn't that pressure on you. We didn't know what you were doing. We didn't know what you're setting out to create. So when you finish Life is Strange, you have this legion of fans, these people, this audience, this community that writes to you. I talk to them at shows that cosplay about how much this game touched them. To have to deal with that legacy moving forward, I feel like would make me go, I'm leaving the games industry. I don't know how to tackle this.
Yeah, you're right. It's exactly.
Should have done that, maybe.
No, it was exactly like you say. It was a lot of pressure, but it's also. I think we have a lot of conversations, the three together, also with the team, with Square Enix, to see what is why we love to create this game and why the players love the first one. And I think the first thing we had in mind was to move on ourselves and to try to do something different, but keeping the same DNA. So sometimes some players have been disappointed by this choice, but it's also what we wanted to do as creators and also for the team, because it's like 3 or 4 years and doing again the same game type of game. It could have been not boring but difficult to be involved. So here we changed a lot of things, and we still wanted to create good characters, I hope, and a story that tackle a lot of different themes. And those brothers came out, and for a lot of reasons, we end up with this road trip structure. And so it was a challenge, but I think it was a good choice. When after 4 years now, we say, I think it's okay. And I think some players at the beginning was disappointing, but as soon as they jump into the story, like you say, it takes maybe sometimes 2 or 3 episodes to really jump in and know the characters, and we want to take care of Daniel and continue, etc. So it takes some time, but as soon as you have taken this time, I think it works.
And I think that especially now that the 5 episodes are released, it's even easier to get into it and play them almost back to back. Or just having maybe 1 or 2 days of pause between each episode, where with the original release, since the game was a complicated game to create, it was a much bigger game than the first one, and the production was hard, and also that's why we had these bigger delays between each episode. It was a bit bigger than we expected.
That tends to happen.
It was something that I know that could have been also sometimes too long of a wait between each episode, but now they can just play those episodes and really get into the story like you did, remembering easily what happened because you played the other episodes.
And that was the thing, I mean, like, I was so shocked, I think even myself, well, first off, when I turned on episode 3 and it was like, do you want to load your save? And it was saved in January. And I was like, it's been a year? It's been a year? Oh my gosh. And so to get going with that and finish the game and then go back for trophies, I platinumed it. No big deal, everybody. Kevin, do you want to applaud? Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, everybody. Number 107. To go back to the beginning and hear the differences in the performance, right? The fact that, I forgot how much time passed in this story. I forgot how much Sean was wearing that weight. You know what I mean? To go back and have him be a snotty teen. Like, you know what I mean? With just no weight on his shoulders, dad's taking care of everything, it doesn't matter. To where we are at the end of the story, which we're not spoiling it. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even give it credit for that, right? Like, I think when you can sit there and play them back to back to back to back, it's a different thing.
That's something we really, when we replayed a bit of episode 1, we noticed how much even the voice acting of Daniel, of course, changed between episode 1 and episode 5. Like, the actor, Roman George, is a kid, and of course, he grew up over the course of the voice session, so it works with the game. Since the game takes place over 1 year, you can hear that he's younger in episode 1 and older in episode 5.
He's got more insurance.
One thing we did in the pre-show, because of course you can go to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, get the pre-show, the post-show, watch us record the show live, even with guests, is we didn't talk about what you guys do on this. That's on me. That's a failure as my host. We talked about it in the pre-show, not on this show. So what is your role on Life is Strange?
We want to begin?
Yeah. So we are the 3 of us. We are the co-creators of Life is Strange 2, and the awesome Adventures of Captain Spirits. And I, Jean-Luc, am the writer of these 3 games. Raoul Barbet and Michel Cor are the co-directors of these 3 games.
Got it.
So, to sum up a bit, we work all the 3 together, are really the main story, the main characters. So with, of course, the team that is in Paris now, it's like 40 people in total, I would say, for the whole game. 50 maybe on this one. And so yeah, we write the main story, and after Jean-Luc go really into details into the story, and after it's how you create the game. So it's more Michel and I, and Michel is also really in charge of all the artistic direction. And I will be more on the cinematographic aspect, the music also. I pick the songs, etc. And yeah, we share some stuff, but we always work together hand in hand and fight together. And But yeah, it's really something. Yeah, I think it's interesting to be not only one person at the head of this kind of project, because you're always challenging yourself and you won't disagree, of course. So it's interesting to really have to prove why this decision is good or not. So yeah, it's a cool process, and it's after 3 games. We are still we are alive. We are not fighting. So it's okay.
We did not kill each other yet, so that's okay.
Exactly. We'll see how the next project goes. Is it? I mean, obviously, you talk about the fights and the push and pull of this, right? I have to imagine, is that difficult? Do you feel more of an ownership over this? Because I always feel, finishing Life is Strange 1, I remember giving you, Michelle, crap for it, right? Of like, you say there's 2 endings and neither are canon, but the ending I chose, just I was in a truck and we drove away. And then the other ending, there's this epilogue and there's this video. And I'm like, clearly you thought one way. Like, to be on the other side of that, where you have your own ideas of what these characters should do, what their journey should be, but then to meet other people on the team who don't have that journey, don't have that vision, and want to change it, is that especially tough? Do you feel like you own the story in a different way?
I mean, it's like Raoul said, we're working also a lot with the team, so we have really a great team working with us on Life is Strange, and we are trying to get every feedback possible and listen to the team, and we are making internal playtests. They are reading the stories. They are sending us the feedbacks, and we try to take into account where it makes sense, where it works. So I guess most of the team is really on board with the vision of the game and the story.
Okay. I think it's more keeping this vision, and as soon as we have chosen the story and this vision, we are the 3 together know what we want to do with this game. So this game was really about education, the brotherhood, etc. So when you got, for example, a very good idea from a designer or a narrative designer, but this idea doesn't fit this vision, we are here to say, maybe it's the best idea of the video game history, but it won't be in this game because it's not the vision. And sometimes it's difficult to have this vision and to keep it, but as we are like 3, it's really cool. But of course, you've got some people disappointed, even ourselves. Sometimes it's not really Life is Strange 2 is not really the game we would do alone, but it's also what I think gives strength to the project, is because we add all those visions and be sure that we keep that the main one. But, lot of discussion.
When you're setting off and ready to make another one, you have these ideas, and you talked about, you want to go in a different way, you want to be creatively challenged. Was there a part of you guys, or was there a discussion of keeping with Max, keeping with Chloe, seeing that go forward?
We talked a bit about it, but since we have those 2 endings, completely different endings in the first game, clearly we don't want to decide that any of those is a canon. So, I mean, creating a story that works with Max and Chloe after the first game to make it really great, it would mean making 2 different games, I think.
Sure.
So
there is also the fact that from the beginning, the story of Max and Chloe was done at the end of the first Life is Strange, and making another game with Max and Chloe, Life is Strange 2, with the same characters, and maybe a different mood, but with the same character, could have been a little bit forced, because we have no more stuff to say about Max and Chloe for now,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it will be like, okay, Life is Strange worked really well, with audience, and let's make Life is Strange 2 with Max and Chloe. Is going to be a fan service game, and we didn't really want to do this as creator.
Yeah.
Okay, the story is done. Let's think about something else with the same DNA, maybe of the first one, but let's change a little bit ourselves.
And I think, I think really that for those games, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that we are creating characters for a story. We are not really creating a story for characters. And I mean, if we have to make another game with Max and Chloe, it will be finding the best story for Max and Chloe instead of creating a new game, when you're creating the characters that are the best for the story you want to tell. And I think that Sean and Daniel, we created them really to tell this road trip story of two brothers and facing exclusion and all the difficulties they're facing in the United States. So, I mean, really, if we do another game, I think we want to work the same way. It's to create characters that works best for the theme and the story we have in mind, rather than the opposite.
I remember before the storm finished up, there was some messaging from Square Enix that was like, this is the end of the Max and Chloe story. And a lot of people were kind of like frustrated and angry about that. Was there any point where you guys were reading that and being like, did we make a mistake with this? Or are we steadfast in what you're doing?
I don't know. And anyway, at one moment as creator, we know that it's not our brand anymore. You know, it's Square Enix one, so it's their decision to move on or not. So Before the Storm is done by another team, and when we see that from far away, but of course we can understand the disappointment of some fans, and you always want more when you like some characters. But us personally, I think, like Jean-Luc said, it was at this moment we had not anything to say more to the story, to tell anything more to the story on Max and Chloe, but maybe one day it will be different. But at this moment, it was more, for us, it was done. So, But maybe Square Enix could have other plan. I really don't know. So it's just to talk about us, this team.
And also looking at the reaction of the fans right now. So really in the beginning, a lot of fans of the first game were angry or were really not willing to play Life is Strange 2 just because it's not Max and Chloe.
Right.
And more the episode advance, and especially right now with episode 5, we see that most of the players were really skeptical and they gave a chance to the game, and now they say that, okay, actually I didn't think that I would like those new characters, but I like them. We still have some fans that hate us for not doing Max and Chloe, but I mean, Max and Chloe that still exist. They're still the first game. People can still imagine what's happening to them later. I mean, it's not because we have Life is Strange 2 and Sean and Daniel that Max and Chloe doesn't exist anymore. So
I mean, wow. That's the spoilers. Trying to get into that, I guess. Yeah, but to put a pin in Max and Chloe, I mean, I think I was there with you to an extent, right? Where when it got announced of, okay, Before the Storm's coming, Deck 9's doing that, right? You guys are working on Life is Strange 2. It's going to be your own thing. It was that thing of like, oh, that's so interesting choice. And I went the way of like, ugh, I don't know if I want somebody else touching Max and Chloe, right? I don't know if I want another story around that. So to go, and not to mention, I remember talking about it in Gamescast leading up to the release of Before the Storm of like, no one's asking for this. I don't need to know Chloe and Rachel Amber's story. You guys told it. I got it. Blah, blah. To play Before the Storm, and like, I was like, oh man, this actually was great. And it's sort of what you're talking about, Life is Strange 2, right? No, I don't want that. I don't want that. And you get in there and you're like, all right, this is pretty cool. In the same way, like the comic book, right? The Life is Strange comic book, where you're talking about like, to choose an ending would be to choose canon, right? If you went and did Life is Strange with them again. And I get that. As a comic book fan, I understand the multiverse, and I understand infinite possibilities and Elseworld tales and non-canon, yada, yada, yada. So when this dropped and I started reading the comic book, I was like, all right. And then I was like, damn, this is actually really well done. As they balance the issues and go between. But like, what's fascinating is I think that works as a comic book, but wouldn't work as a game. You know what I mean? Whereas
I feel totally the same.
Yeah, and I'm like, they're doing something really cool, but that's not what you guys do. You guys are making Life is Strange the core titles, right? You're making what I like to think of as, now with number 2 under your belt, this anthology, where if I say it's a Life is Strange game, I don't think people are going to think, oh, it's Chloe. Oh, it's Daniel, right? No, they're going to be like, oh, I get it. It means that you're getting this narrative choice-driven story that has some kind of supernatural vibe to it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, that's.
I think that's the moment when you can say your quote.
Say your quote.
What? Which one?
That's the players. From, you don't give the play. Because it's exactly what's happening.
It's not my quote. It's a Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon quote.
You said it.
No, it's not my quote. No, it's a quote I love from Joss Whedon, you know, the creator of Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
sure.
a lot of stuff. And he said this one is called "Give people what they need, not what they want."
Right.
And that's why he has done the opposite when he made the season with Riley on Buffy. It's season
and in season 4.
Season 4. Yeah. Everyone wants Buffy to be happy with a boyfriend. So okay, he give her Riley in the sun, and it's probably one of the baddest season of the whole series because you don't want Buffy to be happy. It's sad, but you want her to struggle
You don't want any character
with
to be
her
happy.
life.
Yeah, no, I've noticed. I've played your games.
Yeah. That explains a lot of the last episode to me.
Yeah.
So that's it's a little bit the same with Life is Strange. If a lot of people want to have some news about Max and Chloe, what happened to them, what will be their future together or not, depending on the choice you've made at the end of the first season. But I think whatever the story we could have done, people will be disappointed by this.
Yeah. Sure.
So we didn't want to take this because we have nothing to say more, I think. And we don't want to disappoint our fans, so that's why we also change everything to make another game.
But you may have some info playing Life is Strange 2 for the one who haven't played yet, so
Yeah.
maybe some info about those characters.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just a bit. But again, it's
Because
based on
it's-
what I did, right? So it's my own canon that I keep constructing in my head.
Yeah.
That I argued with you about, and it's still correct.
It's,
I'll tell you right
it's
now.
the same universe, so
Yeah.
you can have some Easter eggs, some
Maybe
little stuff.
see some characters.
All right, so here's a good point. We're jumping into spoilers now. If you
Oh,
made it
yeah.
this far, congratulations. I can't believe you haven't played this game yet. Go play this
Thank
game.
you.
Gets our seal of approval. These men are very tired. Reward their hard work. Yeah, what I want to start with you guys is the fucking balls you guys have, all right? 2019 and especially woke time, as the kids say, right, Imran?
Yes.
And so for you guys to be like, we're in France. Let's tell this story about these Mexican Americans wanting to go back to Mexico, talking all sorts of shit about American culture too. Look at you guys, huh? Not afraid of anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we won't.
That's
we won't
because
leave.
we are three.
We won't leave America alive.
Was that when you guys started kicking around this idea? Was there concern about that? Like, I think that's something we talk about is authenticity in storytelling, right? And people want representation. So for you guys, a bunch of French dudes over there to tell this story, how did you wrestle with that and how did you get it to where it is?
I think that the way we work when we want to create a story is not really start by thinking about the themes or the social issues or I mean, it's not a checklist where we say, okay, let's make this story, but we need to have that and that and that,
Sure.
those points in the story. We really started by thinking about this story of two brothers, talking about family bonds and education. And we knew that we wanted this story to showcase that how it is to be by yourself and to be facing all the different exclusion of the real world when you're just alone, homeless. So working, that's where we started to decide what would be the best character for this story. And we know that Life is Strange is a contemporary game. We know that the franchise takes place most in the United States. So that's why, of course, we had to look at what's happening right now in the US, but also everywhere else in the world. I mean, the game takes place in the US, but the themes we are talking about in the game, they are quite universal. I mean, you have tons of racism in a lot of every country. You have the far right with rising everywhere in Europe. We have, you know, what's happening in France right now, where we have a lot of issues with police brutality and riots. And so, yeah, there is really a climate, a global issue that definitely where we thought that it would be really our job maybe to talk about those themes with this story, with those two kids who are running away from the police and who are just by themselves in the world.
Yeah, we want to be realistic, and if you have this story of those brothers, you can't avoid to have some scenes, some sequences, and I think games is really great to talk also about that. Is to put yourself in, give you a life of one another.
Walk a mile in their shoes.
Yeah, you can be I don't know, like a fighter on Mars killing some aliens. You can be a pilot, etc. It's really cool. That's why we love video games. But also you can be a half Mexican teenager, and you really, I think, can realize a bit what is it to be like Sean. It's not real life, but it could be, I don't know, like just as a player you will think about it, and I think that is why we love video games. It's so strong when you ask yourself those questions. You're facing some people that don't like you for some reason, so you just can think about it, and that's also what the players are telling us, even for the first Life is Strange, they were happy to be in those situations, even if it's a difficult situation, it's sad, it's bad, etc.
Sure.
It allows them to think about it, to talk about it with their friends, with their family, etc. And I think video games is really great for that. So.
And as a developer, we always take care of not giving our point of view, or we don't want to be listen giver. Say, okay, that's good, that's bad. You have to think this if you want to be good. Our job is really to put the player in front of the situation and let him think and experience new stuff he has never seen before, and maybe change his mind in sort of way. But it's we don't want to be the European guy who judges America. It's not our job. We really don't want to do this.
And I think we've got a lot of problem in Europe with the borders and all the police violence, etc. For sure. And I would say it's more game about just humanity. It's not about USA in particular. Course, It's just the story take place here, but. Yeah, I think we don't have lessons to give for sure. So
I was a teenager when 9/11 happened, and I lived in the South. So a lot of this game actually ended up ringing true for me. Of like, just not even like the very extreme situations of people like kidnapping you or whatever, but just looking at you and judging you immediately based on the national culture at the time. So just things like that of seeing people just kind of say, or the family at the picnic in the first episode, or not the picnic table. Yeah. Like that was the kind of thing that I dealt with a lot as a kid. Yeah. Okay. Of like they look at you and they've already sized you up for exactly what they think you are.
Yes, they put you in a box. And
So I was able to kind of put myself in those shoes very easily from like first episode on.
Well,
cool.
I think
Thank you.
for me, right, that is what you totally nail. I love about games is being put in situations that I'm not normally in, right? And lots of times that's fantastical and fun. Here it was the opposite of that, and again, I applaud you for doing it, because I think, in not just 2019, but in 2018, in modern video games, right, I'm so sick of the fucking toothless responses of, like, our game's not political. No, blah, blah, blah. And so for you guys, I remember episode 1, like, it mentions Trump, and it was like, whoa, okay, we're going to go there. And to continue down that journey to get to where I was last night in the final episode, right, where I'm having those things in my head as I'm playing as Sean, trying to protect Daniel, and I'm like, well, I would just go to the cops. And I'm like, well, I would go to the cops because I'm just a 36-year-old white dude who hasn't had these problems. And so to go down, I can see in the game where so many games make choices, yes or no, black, white, good, bad. And so for it to get to the end where, my ending, similar to my ending with Life is Strange 1, the one I chose that I think is my canon, right, was I had him drive through the border, right? Because I had gotten to my breaking point where I'm like, I don't trust anybody. It isn't going to work out. We're right there. We're right there for freedom and to be alone, right? And when I went for it and Daniel jumped out of the car, I was like, not the right choice.
I ended up surrendering because, like, I figured that this moral of the story for me was that sometimes it's just not going to work out. Like, this is this country, this is this world right now. Sometimes you just can't win.
Yeah.
I think there is.
There is no good or bad endings, or not in the fact that it's the good ending or bad ending. It's always a bittersweet. Every ending are a little bit bittersweet because there is no black or white in life. Right. That it's not really happening. It's always this gray area. You can be happy for them, for the two brothers, even if they are separated, or you can be happy for them even if they are bad guys but they are together. It's always about this gray area, and that's what we wanted to achieve with this multiple.
Maybe it's a bit pessimistic, but it's how it is that there is really a no-win situation for them because they're facing some systemic oppression that won't go away. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you have your ending when you're just fighting it, and maybe it's still not the perfect ending for them because they will be separated. Sean will be on the run for all his life. Yeah.
Well, he seemed like he was just on a beach chilling out. Daniel's under house arrest for 15 years. Like, damn.
He still has to look over his shoulder everywhere, every time. And if you surrender, you have those unfair 15 years in prison. Yeah. And you see when he gets out, he's broken. Even if now he's free, he still lost the best 15 years of his life. Yeah. And
I thought I got the bad ending at first, honestly. I was like, oh, did I mess up?
There is not really no.
And they are separated again at the end because Sean
by choice. And
choice.
They can see each other when they want. It's just that Sean decided to go free on the road.
On the road.
Yeah, I was wondering what not your interpretation. You wrote the story in what actually happens there, right? Because I see them, outside of the woods. They have the moment, the breakdown, and they get in their cars and go separate ways. It was that thing. Is it just that for what you guys non-verbally communicate there, that it is too difficult for them to be together, like for Sean to see Daniel, who got to live on the outside?
So the idea was more like Daniel, he has his life, he has a job, he moved. You see in the picture that he moved in a new apartment. We don't exactly explain if he's in a couple with someone or not, but just he has his own life. And Sean, he needs to create his own life too. So after losing 15 years in prison, he will just maybe take his car and start traveling again, and who knows, maybe meet some other people. We want also to let that a bit open for also the players to just create Sean's story at this point. What will he do when he's free, when he's completely free of things he didn't do, but now he's just a free man and he can be by himself.
Yeah, because his freedom is quite fresh still, so I think it's the first moment when you're out after 15 years, you just want to have those moments alone, ride and see. It's more like the body body choice, I would say.
I had the same thing as Imran, where I got my ending. I was like, this isn't the good ending. And then I went and watched the other one. I'm like, well, this one isn't good either. We're getting out of prison. It wasn't until you guys were here. I was finishing the YouTube video, and the one where they're both in Mexico working at the body shop. That's it. That's the good one. I should have been a little looser with what I taught Daniel. We'd be down there right now, chilling out.
Well, what is cool is also to see that most of the time the players say my ending was a good one, or at least fit to my own decision. So it's really cool. This is. We don't want to disappoint the player with it will be that, and say no, it's not. It's my character, because it's weird as creators to see that a lot of players very quickly says they are their own characters. The characters from the game they own them, and it was the case for Max and Chloe. Of course, a lot of people tell us what Max and Chloe are because now they know them even better than us. And it was the same here for Sean and Daniel, and I was shocked when I see some YouTubers playing and saying, "Oh no, my boy," and it's quite emotional. And to see that those ending fit their expectation, it's really cool. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, the power of your games, is that people get so attached and so ingrained. And it was that thing of like, my wife was watching the majority of my playthrough, and so but she went to bed, I think, one night and came back the next night to see me finish, and she's like, wait, are you being nice to Karen now? I was like, yeah, I've come around. Like, I'm not happy with her choices, but she's helping us out of this jam right now.
I kind of ended up that way too, of like, I hugged her at the end. Like,
I wrote the note, "Dear Mom." I was like, ugh.
Like, that conversation was like extremely powerful, like when they were sitting in front of the hotel room. Because like, the way I would put this is this game actually put way more tension in me than most other like horror or action. Like, I played Resident Evil 2 in the same week I played this. I'm way more tense by this, just like having these conversations of like, how do I feel about this person? And I was still like pretty pissed off at Karen because Sean was pissed off at her.
And I think that's something that was really important for us, the way how we worked with the character of Karen. To let the player have his own opinion about her situation. It was, I mean, just to come back to what you said before, you're right that, like you, we are just white dudes and we don't really know much about most of the characters we're talking about, so that's why
high five for being white.
I'll lean back again.
And, I mean, we were even asking ourselves if we were allowed to tell those stories, but when we did a lot of research, we did some road trip in the United States, and we met a lot of people, some hitchhikers, some people we talked to when we were just driving, and we heard some of those stories that were really hearing about their struggles or what's happening that we have no idea, we don't experience it ourselves. We saw that it was important that we found a way to talk about those people in the game. So it's somehow trying to give a voice to some characters, some person that don't really have a voice in most of the time in video games. And just to go back to Karen, it was important for us to try to talk about this issue of how motherhood is seen as the holy grail in our modern society. And we tried to show that in a way that wouldn't just give, like Jean-Luc said, give our own opinion about it. So you have the opportunity to be angry or not at Karen. She just explained why she did what she did, and she did hurt a lot Sean and Daniel. But we also try to explain that it's somehow sometimes a role that's forced on women on society, and you can make your own opinion about it.
Sure.
And I'm really proud of how it ended up for Karen in both of these episodes, where I think it's quite subtle, where the player can really decide and make his own reasoning about her.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that was powerful, and I think it spoke to the writing again, in like of who she was. That it started off, and I was right what you're talking about, right? Of motherhood, you're a mother, that's what it is, right? And then to get to the point of, I see what you're doing. Like, I think there's a line that as Sean I got to say to her, right, where it was just like, I understand you more now. Like, you know, I think when we were saying our goodbyes, I was like, I get it more of what happened to you now, and it's like, okay, we're cool, and I can walk off and do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, my Sean was still kind of pissed at her, but, like, he understood what she... Like, it was probably for the better than to have her being around and being a crappy mother.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, yes. This is a good chance, everybody, for us to thank our sponsors. So we'll insert the ads here. Today's episode of the Kinda Funny Gamescast is brought to you by Mugsy Jeans. Mugsy Jeans are the most comfortable men's jeans ever made. That's no exaggeration. Mugsies are real jeans that literally feel as comfortable as sweatpants. The magic is in Mugsy's proprietary fabrics, which include a blend of high-tech materials that make these jeans mind-blowingly soft and flexible. Best of all, Mugsies come in a stylish fit that's not too baggy but not too tight, so you look even better than you feel. If you want comfortable jeans that look good, Mugsy jeans are for you. The guys at Mugsy's are so confident that they're so confident that you'll love them. They offer free USA shipping and returns, so your comfort is 100% guaranteed. Do your legs a favor. Grab your own pair of Mugsy jeans that are sweeping the nation by heading to Mugsy.com. That's MUGSY.com, and use the code KINDA for $10 off. That's Mugsy.com. Use the code KINDA for $10 off. Be like Tim Gettys. He's over there wearing Mugsy jeans right now, saying they look like sweatshirts. Isn't that right, Tim? That's right, Greg. They feel like sweatpants. They do. Mugsy. Get Mugsy.com. Use the code KINDA, $10 off. Our other sponsor is Trojan Condoms. STDs are at an all-time high in the U.S., with half of all new STDs occurring in young people aged 15 to 24. Yet, condom use is on the decline. Only 1 in every 3 sex acts involve a condom amongst singles. 62% of couples stop using condoms regularly after the 2-month mark in a sexual relationship, and 78% stop using condoms after the 6-month mark. This is not good. Use condoms, specifically Trojan condoms, but outside of that, use condoms. Protect yourself and your partner. It's not something that won't happen. It could happen very easily to you. Don't do this. Despite fear, common fears of judgment or embarrassment, only less than 2% of people actually pass judgment when they see a guy buying condoms. The rest think he's being smart/responsible. But on top of all that, remember, it's none of their business. What do you care what the person in the grocery store says? You're going to see him for 2 seconds. Get out of there. Trojan brand condoms help protect against both unintended pregnancy and STDs. Trojan has the reliability of a brand that has done this for over 100 years. In a modern and evolving world of sex, one filled with swipe rights, dating apps, and emojis, Trojan is here to be your guide to the most trusted brand in sex. Trojan's brand purpose is centered around enabling confident sexploration for all sex-having people, and Trojan has over 30 different varieties of condoms to choose from: thinned, ribbed, lubricated, non-lubricated, latex, non-latex. If you're going to buy condoms, buy Trojan. They're out here. They're telling you, hey, you don't be ashamed of this. Don't be embarrassed about this. Do it. Protect yourself. Protect the people you love, or at least care about in that moment. Use Trojan condoms, everybody. You can pick up Trojan condoms wherever you get your condoms, and I urge you to do it. But because that's later on. When you support on Patreon, you have to do the ads now. We don't have to worry about it at all. Imran, why did it take you so long to play?
For me, it was because I was still doing news at Game Informer at the time, and I remember writing up the story about their release schedule.
Yeah.
And it was like, showed the whole thing up until like December. I was like, if I start playing now, I'm not going to be able to like emotionally attach myself to this game. I'm not going to remember things, or it's going to be like it happened with you, like the episodes will just accrue up until I get to the end. So I figured, okay, I'll just wait till the end and do it. Then it ended up being December. I was like, oh, this is episode 5's out. I should go ahead and play this. And because it was on Game Pass, it was easy to like just go through and play the entire thing. But for me, I wish I had played it at the beginning and just try and like hook myself through. But I think the binge I did at the end probably worked out better for like the way I attached to the game.
Do you guys? How do you not wrestle with it? But I mean, why episodic? Why do you guys release your games episodically?
Yeah, why?
A question we ask ourselves all the time.
Because we have to say that it's really, really difficult. It's more like shipping 6 games in 1 year, because there was Captain Spirit also.
Sure.
So it's like 5 episodes and Captain Spirit. So it's like shipping 6 games, one after the other. And it's really, really difficult because as you're working, for example, on episode 3, you're finishing episode 2 that are going to be released, you prepare the motion capture of episode 4, etc. etc. So it's always like, no holidays, you always have a next game to create, etc. But so yeah, it's difficult. So I don't know if we will continue to do that. But on the other hand, I would say it's force us to be quite effective on narrative design and character development. Even if Jean-Luc has written the whole story at the beginning and it was a great story, the fact that it's episodic, we've got a lot of feedbacks. So feedbacks about the design, for example, how Daniel is behaving, the power, etc., etc. So it helps us also to polish the story, the characters, etc. So, and of course we've got more visibility also because we ship 6 games. So it's got some good points, but the wait it was a bit long. We know that, and it's. We didn't expect this production to be so hard, so we didn't expect this time between each episode.
It went longer than you wanted to.
It was really different from the first season because the first season took place in Arcadia Bay, and it's always the same location, the same characters. But now in Life is Strange 2, in every episode you have to create new location, new season, because it's beginning in autumn. After that we have winter, spring, summer. So new location, new character you are going to meet, and after that live aside the road. So it was more difficult and it took more time to on this one. So, but on the other hand, the episodic format allowed us to make some slight adjustment between episodes. If you have some feedbacks of the player, we can make some little arrangement, not to move the whole story, but make some little thing to please the community and the player, because it's for them we are making the game. So. It's the advantage and the faults.
I think the worst is really when you have a player telling us that when they will meet Karen, for example, and when they didn't know who is Karen anymore.
Yeah.
Who is Karen? Oh yeah, the mother. And it's the worst for us because it really means that we have failed, because it means that one important moment of the story it's failed because of the wait.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that now everything is out, so you won't have this wait, so for sure. But also it was interesting on a design point of view and a narrative point of view that it's almost exactly the same amount of time. For example, if you have 3 months of wait, it means Sean and Daniel have spent 3 months between since the last moment you've seen them. So it was interesting to have this journey in real time, but it doesn't work for the other reasons. So it was the only good point. So sorry for that, but it was interesting to test it. Sorry,
we tried.
No,
but
it's one of those things of, I remember for other games where people have told me when I was reviewing them, and I'd be on top of it, and I had to be like at IGN, I was writing like the Telltale ones, and I'd be reviewing Walking Dead every few months or whatever. And so many people are like, I'm letting them build up. And I remember always being like, you're a crazy person. Like, don't you want to discuss this as it happens, blah, blah, blah. And then I saw with you guys, me fall into that exact same trap of like, there's so much going on, and I'm reviewing them for this, but I'm not like writing the reviews, needing to see every permutation in the episode I'm reviewing. So I just didn't know it backwards and forwards. So I didn't understand everybody's thing. So to let it sit and get there, I had the same thing Imran did, right? Of like finishing it and being like, man, this is clearly, in my top games of the year. And then you look at...
Thank you.
No problem. It's going to get negative here in a second. You look at nominations for awards, right? And you look at all this stuff, and not enough people are talking about it, because it does the thing you were talking about of like, you're in the cycle more of an episode's coming out, but I feel like it's harder to have that moment, right? Where everyone's like, oh my God, have you played X, Y, and Z?
If you had to go back, if you had to remake that decision about episodic or not, would you ever just release it as one game?
I don't know. I think for this specific game, if I could change something, I would just try to delay much more the release of episode 1. So we could just have released episode 1 like 5 months ago.
Sure.
And have
Every month.
Every other month
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
every month
Yeah.
have something. Yeah.
But yeah.
It's more like it feels more like between two seasons of a series. Like when you want to see next season of Game of Thrones, for example, you have to rewatch a resume of all the other because it was so. I think it was a problem. But no, I think the format is quite cool. At least for this story, I think it's interesting to have those ellipses, second ellipses between each episode. So no.
Okay. Now, this is something I wanted to get into because I had it here on my notes, right? I put the characters down, but I also put the locations because that was something I noticed, obviously, with episode 2, of how much we were moving around in this. Is this similar to what you talked about of leaving Max and Chloe behind, where you're like, we want to grow as creators, we want to be challenged, we want to do more, we want to go to all these different environments? Because, I mean, what we're talking about, Seattle, Oregon, Humboldt County, Nevada, Arizona / Mexico. Like, you guys get around in this game. It's a lot of environments to make.
I think there was this, like you said, it was a challenge that was really interesting for us, for the team. I mean, for the environment team, it was pretty great for them to work on all these different environments. They were, I would think, a bit tired of doing just one house and one small city and going back always to the same place. It was a challenge for them. But just for us and for the story, I think that we've been traveling a lot before when we were writing the story, and there is this kind of magic to the size of the United States, the size of your country, and it was really interesting just to have this road trip feeling, to be on the road, to see all those different states and seasons, because it brings really you can meet different kind of characters in each state has a different vibe and different
Laws also.
laws and politics and everything. So it was really interesting to have this journey take place over a lot of places. So it's really a big journey, and I mean it's really John can talk about the road trip structure, but
it's always the road trip structure is really good to fit of what Sean is dealing with. You know, in the first episode you are in Seattle, it's your hometown, so it's your familiar area. In the second episode it's winter, you're alone, so you are, because the character are improving, the life, just the two of us, and after that they meet their grandparents, so they are finding a home again. Episode 3, it's the location is surrounded by these big trees, so it's like a cocoon. You're preserved with this new bunch of characters. In episode 4, Daniel is lost.
This is really the spoiling moment.
No.
So
That's what it's about. That's what Spoilercast is about.
But
You should have played by now.
in episode 4, you have lost Daniel, so it's Sean is walking through the desert. So
In just grueling scenes.
Yeah.
Punishing scenes.
exactly. So yes, by the new location and the new stuff, we're adding a new layer of narration. So it was something good to improve in this episode.
Yeah.
and also it's also a bit selfish. It's because we wanted to talk about all those locations, because like Michel told, it's incredible. All the west coast of United States. I don't know the rest of the country.
Don't
but,
worry. West Coast, best coast.
but it's amazing in like 200 kilometers. How many
fast it changes.
different?
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's so beautiful. So those moments, important moments in the story, we were thinking that it could be great to have those incredible land and environments around them, and to host those sequences. So yeah, and I'm particularly proud of the last episode. I think the environments are incredible. So it's different. It's Nevada and Arizona, but I think it could even push people to come to visit the US, because it's so beautiful here. So,
and I think also that this game is really a lot about talking about what do you do with the rules of society. So we're talking a lot about the outcast, people who are decided to live outside of society. So just traveling and moving around was a great way for this story to be able to meet all those characters and to show those different way of life. It could be like the drifters in episode 3 deciding to have those small job in pot farms, or the small hippie commune in episode 5 of people who just decided to stay in one place, but really to not be a part of society anymore. So we had to travel to showcase a lot of those different way of life.
Because I think you can't have this community you have in a way in Northern California, for example. It would be more difficult than in the desert.
Sure.
And again, the pot farm also, it's always in one particular place in California. So yeah, I think it's interesting to show all those aspects of the society.
How did you guys come to the decision, or I guess gain the knowledge about Humboldt County and wanting to go there? Because I remember it had been, when I wrapped episode 2 and like the teaser teased we were going there, it was like the week before I had finished the documentary called Murder Mountain, which is all about it. And I was like, did they just watch? Did they watch this?
Yeah.
And think
We have seen it after. Of course, we have nearly finished the episode at this moment. So
I mean, like, that's a good idea.
It doesn't come from this, but we were happy to see it. And we had some stuff we have seen in the documentary.
Yes.
So, for example, all the cars, the wrecked cars,
Yeah.
all over the forest, and we were really happy to see this documentary.
All the missing persons.
Missing
also,
person stuff.
We wrote on it. But the idea first to come, when we were traveling, I think at a point I stopped in a town called Eureka. Oh no, it was Arcata. It's almost under the same place. And I was just speaking to people there, and I met some guy who told me that he was working in a pot farm, and just I discovered almost by chance when I was traveling that this was really the hub for marijuana growing, and there was a lot of also still illegal pot farms, even if it was legalized.
It was before the law.
And
it was
even after the law, there is still some illegal pot farm because they don't want to pay taxes or be. And just talking with those people, it was really interesting to see how most of the travelers were converging to this small city just to find work, and with all their cardboard trimming, like they want to have some trimming work. So just listening to those people and learning this way of life and how they were just working a few weeks to get money for having a few months just by themselves. That's how we worked, the Finn, Cassidy, and the other characters.
And again, it really comes from the story. It's because also we wanted at one moment the two brothers to work, to try to win some money during their journey. So we say, okay, maybe they could go to a classic farm, etc. And afterwards, maybe a pot farm and maybe an illegal one, because illegal means a lot of money and maybe not talking. So for all those aspects, it finished in a illegal pot farm, but it's really steps more step about the character's evolution and the story first. So they need to work to have some money. We want to talk about the community aspect, etc., etc. So it's step by step that you finish to have this particular episode at this moment. And the drifter is something we had since the beginning. We really wanted to talk about those people, train hoppers, and living. Who really decide to live like this, and it was important for us to talk about it. I think it was one of the first ideas we had to talk about drifters, and because we with Michel we've discovered a photograph named Mike Brody, and his first art book was named Portrait of a Juvenile Prosperity. And it's he followed a bunch of drifters, of train hoppers during 1 year, and took a lot of pictures with Polaroid camera. And we bought the art book and said, wow, there is a game to do on it. They are all young, and all free, and they are living by their own rules. Sometimes they have babies on train, but they are raising them. So from the beginning, when we had this idea of the two brothers living on the road, say, okay, we have to meet this kind of people and experience this new way of seeing life and of living their life.
Now, speaking of babies, let's talk about making babies. Sex in video games often not handled well and awkward. You guys have, of course, Sean loses virginity in this, and do it in a very vulnerable, honest, not macho at all way that I thought was awesome, right? I think having been with him and again getting to go on that journey from episode 1 of just being a dumb kid who doesn't like his little brother and is annoying at his house and is annoyed with everything, to having to take care of the brother, to then he rides this roller coaster of being the adult to being a scared kid. And I think it's shown so many different ways and so many different avenues and lenses, whether it's, when he's driving down to try to get Daniel, and he gets, the car gets taken over by the jerks at the, he's parked on their property or whatever, and there you see him, my Sean, go super like, no sir, yes sir, you know what I mean? Like, be a child,
I was
obviously.
defiant.
Oh yeah, you were?
Yeah.
That's right.
I got beat up, so
Yeah,
it probably didn't work out great.
They didn't give me a piece of cake and push me on my way. But then also to have it be here, right? This scene, and I've seen, this is one of the few spoilers, if you will, I saw on the internet, is that you guys got so many articles written up of like, hey, this is a really well done, honest, intimate moment. Like, was that hard to capture?
You talk about the Cassidy scene?
Cassidy
Yeah,
scene.
yeah.
You've been in the tent and...
In real life?
No.
I've been in a tent once or twice.
Tell me
about your life.
in your walkthrough.
In my place too. Yeah.
flirted with Cassidy
I
and
lost my
Greg.
virginity.
Okay.
But it was our will from the beginning not to be, like a movie. Like, okay, was it good? Yeah, for me too.
Never happened.
It's never happened in real life.
Yeah.
It can be good in real life, but for the first time, you're messy. You are making some mistakes. Sometimes you want to do like you've seen in movies, in porn or stuff like this.
Yeah.
But it's not working like this. And we wanted to have this awkward moments. And Sean is an average teenager, even if he has suffered a lot of difficult stuff. Is not that good. And Cassidy is. She's speaking her mind, and she's not afraid of telling the truth. So when she tell him, okay, it wasn't good, but we have time to practice.
And I mean, what was important for us was to not even just saying that it wasn't that good, but just that sex most of the time it's never like you see in movies or the way society try to tell you that it should be. It's just two people discovering each other and trying to enjoy the moment. So it was important really for us to try to showcase that it's something that's natural, but that doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be like pressure. And it was interesting to show that Sean himself put himself some pressure on his shoulder about that. That's why he was
totally
angry.
afterwards, right?
And because that's what we are being told, that you need to be great, you
what a
need
man
to be
does.
perfect,
Yeah.
you need to be
Yeah.
a man, and it's not the point. I mean, in sexuality, and it was interesting to have Cassidy answer that and to show that it was okay. It was just them trying to discover each other, and they will do it again. And it was quite interesting to write this scene and to decide how we would make it happen. It was also interesting to have. I know that it was. We had of course to have the motion capture actors to play the scene and to try to have this vulnerability and for Rio, the actor playing Sean in the motion capture, we just told him to not do what you usually see in movies. Like, it's not like, let's go by the campfire and it will be great.
But I think this whole episode is really about that, about sexuality is one of the subjects, but about freedom, and you can choose, and they talk about that very freely. Characters like Anna, Finn are really free in their mind about that, and I think it was interesting also to talk about that, to see it's not only one way of think and see those moments. Players, I think, have found a lot of in all the different characters we are in this episode, they can find their
own truth.
Yeah, and some characters that looks like them, or some recognize some moments of their own life, and it's really cool to see some feedbacks about this scene, about that, to see I remember, and it was not so good at all.
You don't have one way to live your life. There is a lot of ways, and that's what the Drifters teaches to Sean. You don't have to be what society wants you to be. Be what you want. Be happy and do what you want to do.
And I think it was also a challenge for us that in this game you are playing a male character, and we really wanted for this character to not be like the standard type of male character you often see. Like, we really wanted to try to show that there are other way of behaving, that the classical toxic masculinity you can see in some of the action heroes, or sometimes most of the male heroes characters in Hollywood or some movies, even if it's changing a lot recently.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we were still trying to show that it's okay to show your emotions. We have Sean who is crying often in the game. That it was important for us just to show that you can be yourself, that you don't have to have this facade of a role that sometimes people or society wants to project on heroes.
And I think this is what is cool. You talk about crying. Sorry, you talk a lot. But
No, that's why I brought you on the show. Get closer to that microphone, though. You keep leaning further and further back from the mic. Get up on the microphone.
Yeah. And it's interesting when you talk about crying because it's a video game, it's a different way of telling a story than a movie. So in a movie, you can change a lot from one character to another, telling your story. Here, you will stick to Sean and to what is thinking. It also means that you will be with him even in the tough moments. And for example, the scene after the meeting the guy, the quite racist guy in the desert, when he's just in the car crying, saying fuck, 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 it's so like emotional. It's something those scenes we weren't sure about this scene, for example, in particular, but it's after writing it and do the motion capture, we say, okay, this is a moment where you really Sean like pissed off because he could be disappointed by his choice during this confrontation, and also sometimes you would just are pissed off against yourself and crying like this. It was quite strong, and this is those moments we didn't know at the writing that it will work, so it's cool to see that.
What about David?
Yes.
What you know him, step douche. Back at it. There it was.
David. No.
It was so crazy. When here Karen's coming back, and she gets out, and I'm like, okay, and I'm looking at the guy, I'm like,
He looks familiar.
That looks like David. And I was like, I missed his name. I turned captions on. I'm like, this is David?
It wasn't until he said step douche, and I was like, oh, now I know.
Yeah.
Like, now I know who this is. Because, like, I thought it was, like, a character from earlier on that I just forgot about. But, like, oh, no, he looks just similar enough, but also completely different for me to just not realize it for a good, like, minute and a half.
It's because of the ponytail.
Yeah.
I think.
And the shirt.
Why did you want to bring him back? And was there debate about that? Because obviously he's a character you either love, hate, or have some feelings for.
Just one thing to precise that it was planned from the beginning of the writing, because I've read some players saying, oh, they listened to us that we wanted Max and Chloe, so they decided to bring him at the end. No, it was really planned from the real beginning of the writing that we would have David.
It's been 4 years. Yeah. We kept the secret. We kept the secret of this for 4 years.
Even at the beginning, David, we have planned to put in the first episode.
Yeah. And
as a cop, but in the end we thought that it was too early, and we didn't want, in episode 1 there was also Arcadia Bay, there was already some stuff about Life is Strange 1, so we didn't want to put everything here, so we keep it, and we were thinking that in a way it's a perfect place that he could have been after the terrible events of Life is Strange 1, so yeah, it was interesting, and it's because we wanted to pick the most interesting character of Life is Strange 1. We take David.
The one that the player really loves the most from the first game. It's David, of course.
Of course, that's the one. When people say, who do we love? David. Give us David. We want David, of course.
No, but more realistically, it is the only character that could be alive in both ending of the game, because it was either if the town is destroyed, it was in the bunker when he was just arresting Jefferson. Yep. And if you sacrifice Chloe, of course, he's alive
with Victoria, and it could it's.
It made sense. You know what I mean? For me, it didn't feel weird, out of place. It didn't seem like a weird cameo, especially when, as soon as I saw him, I wanted to know more about it, and then you guys gave me that chance to go into his trailer, talk to him, look around, see, based on my ending, the photo of Max and Chloe, talk about it. Like, I love when we walk over and the diner menus in the frame, and Sean's like, man, it must be the best meal of his life. He hung it up over here.
And
did you like having some news of Max and Chloe?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I thought that was awesome, and I liked David taking us on the journey of where they're at with their relationship.
Yeah.
And the fact that, we weren't well together, and then we weren't for a while, and even him being like, I couldn't reconcile that she just left, that this life fell apart and she took off. But I got there, I did that, and now we're okay. And we talk, and he even gets the phone call from her. Yeah. And I was like, Oh, you're killing me. I love it
Did
so
you
much.
did you stay to listen to the phone call?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course I did.
Everyone turning around. I'm not listening.
Oh no, I didn't even do that. I just stood awkwardly outside looking through the porthole of what's going on there. Who are you talking to?
I had the other path of like Joyce being alive.
Okay.
So that was also equally heartbreaking because I found like the Nathan Prescott badge. Like, oh, he really hates that kid because he killed Chloe. Because that I had to kind of remember like, oh, but how would Chloe have died? Like, oh yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah.
But it was still like a very cool thing like connected to. Is like, oh, that world still exists. There's like a connection to it. Speaking of references, actually, in episode 1, I think Life is Strange 2 might be the only game to reference Minecraft and The Last of Us.
Nice job. Yeah.
Did you guys have any other, like, did you want to throw any other things in? Or was it like, no, Daniel's going to be into Minecraft, Sean will be into The Last of Us, these are the games?
And we were also referencing the Lord of the Rings.
yeah.
You can choose between Minecraft, Lord of the Rings, there is The Last of Us.
There is some movies also, other movies, I think,
they're
after,
talking
during
about
the episodes, when
some
they go to the
movies.
movies with their father.
And there are, in episode 5, there is a small hidden Easter egg to Oxenfree.
Oh, I missed it. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
These are better references than the on-the-nose
Tasty
Final
pasta.
Fantasy. Wow, Spirits Within. And everybody hated this movie, but I didn't know. Like, what are you talking about, Max? Why is this happening?
It was a cool way to show that Max was weird.
Very true.
True, yeah.
But again, I loved it so much because I think it's weird that in our world, video games referencing other video games is so weird and so bizarre. But when I remember when the first time Daniel starts talking about Minecraft, and then when they do the clicker, and I saw Neil after I played it, I saw like the next week Neil Druckmann tweeted, I'm like, oh my god, like,
Yeah, it was so cool.
That's
yeah.
cool.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
But
It
you
does-
definitely can't do something about teenagers nowadays without talking about video games. So and it's so cool to be able ourselves to talk about the game we love. So.
But could we reference, if there is a game that make a reference to Life is Strange, can we reference this game in Life
No,
is Strange?
no,
it
no.
it doesn't work.
It destroys,
It
it
falls
destroys
apart.
the industry.
I'm being told from my producer Kevin, you guys have to be whisked away somewhere else.
Oh,
But I have one final question.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can stay more, no?
No, yeah, cancel the 4 o'clock. No, the question I have for you is, did you ever want to wrestle, or did you ever want to explicitly say where these superpowers are coming from? And then for this one, for Life is Strange 2, again at the beginning, did you want to turn everything on its head, and that's why I play the person that doesn't have the powers?
I would say no and yes.
Yes.
All right, that's it.
I have a much dumber question.
Oh,
Actually.
good, a dumber question. All right.
At the beginning of episode 3, Sean talks about how he's not good at perspective. Was that foreshadowing to him losing an eye?
Oh. I'm surprised. So
There is sometimes some good links that happens when we didn't even think much about it. So I would say that it was a happy mistake for this one.
Okay.
yeah.
Good to know I'm not like
There is
super crazy there.
There is some
Like,
foreshadowing like this,
Yeah.
and we say, "Oh, you've done that? Oh, okay."
Oh, yes, it's exactly what we planned. That is exactly how I wanted
Yes.
it. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in, number one. But thank you more importantly for making Life Strange 2.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you for
much.
your
Great
question
game,
and
please.
everything. It's so cool to be there.
Oh, no,
Thanks.
please, don't worry about it. You will now be whisked away to whatever else you have to do. Imran and I will continue to man the ship. Come give me hugs. I love you. Imran, talk to everybody.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Thank you. Hey, kids, how are you?
Thank you.
the Life is Strange Spoilercast part of this is done. So if you've been plugging your ears for the last hour, like you can unplug them. Like,
And play Captain Spirit. We
Yeah.
also forget about this one.
Captain Spirit's
we
free.
love this one. So
And Life is Strange 2 is on Game Pass. Like, you have Game Pass at this point if you've listened to us at all. Like, just play the game.
Bye-bye, mate. Nice meeting you. That's so cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Look what nice young people. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for making this happen.
Bye, everyone.
Now that they're gone, we can finally talk freely about
Yeah.
this.
Wow, that
this,
game.
This
Holy
piece
shit.
of garbage. You know what I mean? What a game, though.
Yeah, what a fucking fantastic game.
Yeah, I'm glad. This sounds stupid. I'm glad it's over so that I played it all. You know what I mean? When I got into that thing of like, now I'm just gonna wait.
Yeah.
I missed how great it was as it happened, which I feel like's a failing, but then I also feel like I wouldn't have had the same perspective if I didn't.
I mean, last week we talked about like how certain games get weighted more. I'm gonna switch to.
Sure.
So it's not as weird.
All mics are.
Do you want me to take the chairs off?
Nah, don't worry. I mean, this is still the Gamescast.
Yeah.
This is even post show. We're probably too late on. You got a game. We'll go to. Don't worry about it. Anyways.
But like we were talking about like TGAs, how like some games are more likely to be nominated just because everyone played them. And, like, every outlet's going to have the person who reviewed Life is Strange.
Yeah.
And maybe they fucking loved it, but nobody else, like, played that game
Yeah.
for whatever reason because there wasn't conversation about it or whatever. But that absolutely needed to have been in some of those, like...
Totally.
Categories.
And that's, again, like, and this is not me throwing shade at anybody in particular, anybody, period. Yeah. It's like why I'm thankful this year we're doing it after, we're doing our game of the year in January.
Yeah.
So you have a chance to play through everything. We have a chance to see everything. And, like, the fact that everybody keeps talking about Disco Elysium or this, that, you know, I mean, there's chances for me to actually go in there and touch these things before I get out of it.
And this one was particularly, like, I had to do a Game of the Year list for another place.
Yeah.
Like, so I had to get a thing locked this week. So I was like, okay, I'll play 2 episodes. And, like, 2 episodes was enough for me to tell whether or not I liked it or should it be in the list. And because we were doing this, like, maybe I'll just go ahead and finish it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did because, like, it does get better. It builds on itself. And, like, it makes a more lasting impression at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%.
And I really wish, like, it's hard to tell people, like, if you don't like it at first, keep going because it does, like...
Well, I mean, that's how they warm up, right?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, they talked about it, admittedly so, of, like, maybe it takes 2 episodes, maybe it takes 3 to get into the... That was the thing of, like, especially for episode 1, you're dropped in there and you can't see the forest for the trees, right? Because it is like, who are you? Who's this? What's happening? It's all happening. What? Are you a whiny, bratty kid? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's abrasive to, like, a fault, but by design.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, like, the way I thought of it at first is, like, Sean, who is, like, kind of a shitty teenager at first,
Yeah.
it's like you're playing as Chloe, and everyone would have kind of hated that at the beginning of Life is Strange.
Totally.
Because she is kind of a dick. She's like an empty rebellion, basically. And Sean feels like that at first. So if you're not into that at first, like, not seeing why he does the things he does, then it doesn't make any sense, and you might be turned off to that game.
Yeah, for me personally, I think one of the things I really dug about it is that we had a lot more Davids in this game.
Yeah.
Where it was that throughout the adventure, my opinion of you changed. You know what I mean? Like the grandparents in particular, like when we got to their house, I was kind of like, these people suck. All these rules, you know what I mean? These rules, they're weird. They don't like they won't tell us anything about our mom, you know, blah, blah, blah. But again, even though I still feel that way, to get through this thing and get to the end and see the letters you exchange with them, and it's like, all right, they're good people.
Yeah.
They're also in a shitty position of their daughter doesn't want anything to do with them, or you know what I mean? Like there's this whole family dynamic that's all fucked up about it. And
Have you watched BoJack Horseman out of curiosity?
No.
So there's kind of an overarching, I think it's season 3, like the thrust of that season is that the trauma we inherit from our parents shapes us.
Okay.
So I think Life is Strange 2 kind of does that same thing.
Yeah.
Of like, we're looking at all these generations of people and the way in which they pass down what's crappy about their lives to their children and like what's good at like what they instill. And like eventually it goes from Sean to Daniel and what he's instilling in him too.
Yeah.
I kind of like, I got the same message out of that.
That's a great point. Yeah. And that's why I think at the end, organically, right, for me in my playthrough, to get to the end where I'm like, I'm going to rush the border and Daniel jumps out because I've taught Daniel, like, we're not criminals. We're not going to be bad people. We're
I
not going to...
did say we entered the Spoilercast part of it, but like whatever.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Whatever.
Sorry. At this point, they're still committed. It's fine. No, don't worry. They're fine. It's a spoiler. And nobody... There's no way somebody was watching and like listening. Oh, Spoilercast is over. Now I'm in. Yeah, but to dive out there, I was like, that sucks.
Yeah.
And I could see where we had that weird, what do they call them? The inverse bell curve or whatever, where it's like we cross paths where I was like, no, I'm going to turn on my own teachings now of like, no, fuck this. I'm not going to go to jail for this.
I mean, I was really wavering on that one for like a good minute.
Yeah.
It's like, it has the power one there. They just need to get across the border and they're fine.
Yep.
So like, eventually I decided, okay, and just surrender because there's no way to get through this without killing people.
Yep. Yeah,
And-
exactly. I thought about that too.
Yeah, and Daniel's not going to want to do that. So
Yeah, I think you said it poignantly in the episode, and I want to double back, but I realized we wouldn't have all the time in the world. You talked about how, like, you know, the anxiety, right? Like how stressful these choices were. In this, and I love the choice-based games, you know, the Telltales, the whatever, where you go up and you make a choice and your game changes. This is one of the first ones in a while I can remember actually pausing a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Where it was like, oh shit, hit it and think about it, like, because it's not even just like yes or no, right? It's always like, do they mean what that says on screen? Does it mean what I think it means? Like, are they going to? Is it that he's going to go crazy and kill somebody, or is it just going to be that we're going to push him out of the way and move? And like, how do you wrestle with those kind of abilities and things?
And like, it's also because you're not the one with powers, which is one of the things you mentioned. Is like, as Max, you're more or less deciding what all these things mean. So you're not going to, the other person's not going to like fall to interpretation or fail to interpret what you're doing.
Yeah.
Or what's asking them to do. Here, it's like you are kind of loosely holding a dog by the leash.
Yeah.
And don't know exactly what you're gonna do if you say attack.
Shout out to Mushroom, by the way.
Yeah. Oh man, that was so
Rest
sad.
in peace. Rest in peace.
I had to tell Rev, was like, I know you like to know if a media kills a dog. Let me warn you.
You will
Like,
not appreciate how it plays out for this puppy.
Yeah, which is, I figured it was gonna happen the second they let it go out alone.
Yeah.
I was like, damn it.
Just in general, I mean, you guys got enough problems. You do
Yes.
not need to run around this puppy right now. Yeah, God, what a game. And what a bunch of great decisions and what a great way to see it all unfold. I love the fact that, like they were talking about earlier, right, that it's not Life is Strange 2 and it's, Chloe and Max, but it's also the fact that somewhere in the middle of this, I was like, oh man, this is a comic book game. I didn't even think about it. Like, when I think of Life is Strange, it's always her rewind ability is always like, not even the big gameplay mechanic to me, right?
It was just a way to solve one of the problems with narrative choices in games.
Exactly. And so for this one to be, no, like, you're not really in control of the power. You are, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not yours. And on top of that, you're not able to rewind or do something crazy with that. It is the fact that you are there, and are you raising a superhero or a supervillain? You know what I mean? What are you doing those decisions? And like, for me, from the comic book Flight and Tights world of like him revealing the power to everyone, I was like, oh God, stop!
Because you're not going to be able to stop a kid who has powers from telling everyone that they have powers.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they want to use it everywhere.
Yeah.
And like, I remember I played Captain Spirit before I started all this stuff because I just wanted to go through it, and like I assumed it hooked in.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen is that Daniel's going to reveal himself to Chris at some point.
Yeah.
Because he saves him from falling.
Yeah.
So I'm like dreading it as like, do I scold him when that happens, or do I tell him he did a good job? Like,
yeah.
Because he's right. You need to save the kid, but shut up, Daniel.
Stop telling everyone this stuff.
I ended up hiding it from the grandpa too.
Oh yeah, me
I was
too.
like, yeah, there's nothing weird.
It's like one of those, like, obviously knowing where we end up, I would play the game differently if I was to go back in time myself and play it again and go through. Because I was very much hide it, and then like you get to the church and everyone knows, like, oh, God. And you get to mom's like community and everybody knows, like, oh God, all right, yeah, like whatever, everybody knows he's got powers. At which point, like, I always wanted that choice to really pop up, interrogation or whatever. I'm just like, when they hear the thumping happening outside the room and the cop keeps looking, I'm like, here's what's happening. I need your help. You're about to see how all these crazy coincidences happened.
Yeah. When he said, like, how did all this happen? I wanted one of the options to be, like, you're about to see.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Like,
yeah.
But that part was pretty cool, too, because I ended up freeing both, like, the vigilantes and the...
Oh, did you?
Yes.
What happened when they got out? Because I left
Nothing,
them. I just
really.
left them.
Like, I freed them, and they're like, they had... I guess if I let what's the other guy in the cell attack them, maybe it would have been different.
Yeah.
But they're like, thank you, whatever.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, like I popped up and it was like, seek revenge, and I was just like, ignore them. Let's go. Leave
But
them
apparently,
in there.
like, that was, at least on the Xbox, that was one of the less popular choices.
Oh, really?
Was to free them.
Yeah.
Like, most people either just let them there or they sought revenge.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's vindictive,
It's
but
cold.
sure.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, like, I think as it's happening naturally in the game with Daniel, I do look at him and I'm like, you're giving off vibes of like serial killer, like bad guy. You're gonna become the bad guy here, and like I wanted to fight against that. So it was I don't want to encourage that. I don't want you to do that.
Yeah, it is easy as you go through that game to start seeing him as more of a weapon.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is like an episode when what was his name, Flynn?
Yeah.
When
Finn? Or is it
Finn?
Yeah.
Finn starts thinking of that. I'm like, oh shit, I've also been on the same path. I need to back off.
Right.
I didn't realize he was a romance option until later, by the way.
Oh, really? I didn't know that at all either.
You can apparently kiss him on the log, and like he's one of the options when Sean goes to Mexico alone, to like also be there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
But
I love that stuff. I love when you play through your game and like for me personally, it's always the endings.
Yeah.
It's never like those moment to moment choices. How could they have gone differently?
I was thinking about like when we were playing this game, or when I was playing the game, and we were talking to them about Detroit. That the way Detroit does things is like end of the chapter. Here's all the paths you could have gone.
Yeah.
And like I find that much less compelling than
Not knowing
and having just like I think that Karen conversation in front of the hotel is probably one of the more interesting branching paths I've seen in a game.
Yeah.
Even though it's not showing me what everything because I can tell I can either be pissy to her or forgive her or chart a middle path.
Yeah.
And like the middle path didn't necessarily feel right because that's not how the character would act.
Yeah.
So I've never gone through Detroit thinking, how would the character feel about this?
Yeah.
I was
that's a great
like,
point.
what is the branch that gets me to most people alive?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think what this does so well is lead to this conversation because this was always my favorite part about reviewing Walking Dead Season 1 is that I would get it for review and Mitch Dyer would get a code too. And the next day we'd come in and we'd get our coffees and go into a conference room and shut the door and be like, what happened? What did you do? Oh my God, that could happen. Like, to have those conversations, I think, is what's so powerful about these types of games.
Mm-hmm. I do kind of like, I know they said episodic was worked for them in this one. I do kind of wonder if a Life is Strange 3 will be episodic again.
Yeah, I don't think it will be,
Yeah.
but maybe they would, if they, based on what they know now, and obviously, I mean, Square seems happy, obviously, with the Life is Strange franchise as it continues to go. I would think maybe they could get the ability not to release it all at once, but do what they're talking about of like, it's 5 episodes and it's 5 months.
Yeah.
We're already done with 4 of them. We're finishing up the 5th right now. Like,
Yeah.
it'll be able to go.
That would have been like the best thing of, because that was what got Telltale in trouble for so long.
Yeah.
Was they're like, all right, we're done with 2 episodes.
Yep.
Oh shit,
Slip,
everything's
slip,
on
slip.
fire.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna have to just fix this as we go.
I would love to see somebody try to do it. And I know this is difficult, but try to do it weekly. Where it would be that you do the same thing, you finish the game, it's episodic, we have them all, and we just do it. And basically, it's Life is Strange month.
Yeah.
I understand that there's obviously it's cool to have this many beats. I always talk about it with like when Walking Dead was so hot. It was awesome that Telltale every 2-3 months was able to have like, hey, we're owning the conversation. Here's a big review, and sites were happy with the traffic and all that jazz.
Mm-hmm.
For something like Life is Strange that has this dedicated audience, I do think if you could have it be like it drops every Tuesday, so you know there's conversations at the water cooler every Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Because you have an hour and a half or 2 hours.
I mean, it's kind of like how Disney Plus is like as an active thing against Netflix, basically.
Yeah.
Because Netflix puts everything out, and we kind of got a binge culture from there.
Yeah.
So everyone, if you didn't watch it that first weekend, then everyone's going to
screwed.
spoil Stranger Things
Right.
for you the next day. But Disney's like, fuck it, just Mandalorian once a week.
Right.
Like, well, you're going to come back here every week to see this thing.
Yeah.
So I think it probably could work for a game, but I think convincing a publisher who's going to be like, why don't we just sell it all at once then?
Yeah.
Is going to be a lot harder.
Yeah, you'd hope that people could get swept up in the conversations, the movement. I got to do it. And even if you want to binge it that last week, cool.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. I just think that's such a better cadence of not forgetting things. Because it did, he talked about earlier, I think it was Jean-Luc who's just like, or no, it wasn't. It was Raul talking about how, when people were like, wait, who's Karen? Like, it was very much for me of when it popped back up of like, all right, we don't like Karen. We don't like his mom because I think she left, right? And I was like, for a second, like, did she fake her own death? No, she just left. And it was like, I remember the room being important. Like,
Yeah.
little things like that.
That was one of those things that actually was aided by me binging it. Was
Yeah, totally.
being able to remember all that stuff.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's why, like, I'm so locked in on the last 3 episodes. Episodes 1 and 2, I going through for the platinum and seeing stuff again helped me out a lot today. But like, it was still like, all right, yeah, okay. What are the grandparents' names? Fuck, I can't remember. Cass. How am I gonna forget Cass? This, that, and the
Yeah.
other, blah, blah,
On
blah.
the other hand, I kind of like, I do like the fact that there is just a break between those, because I would have felt that. I have a friend who he was playing Ocarina of Time, got to the part where he removed the Master Sword.
Yeah.
Then for whatever reason shelved the game for 7 years, and then he came back and he's like,
Jesus.
this actually was more impactful because like it was the exact same amount of time he was asleep in the game.
Oh wow, I
So-
never thought about that.
So like for him, it was like he grew up with the game.
Wow.
I kind of wonder, like, did I miss out by not having that experience? And it's just I didn't miss out. Maybe it's just a different lateral thing.
Yeah,
But
that's fascinating.
yeah, I'm curious how they're designed too. And also like, I imagine when they first pitched this to Square Enix of like, hey, we're not doing attractive teenage girl lesbians who are doing an adventure.
Possible lesbians.
Yeah, and I think they have to kiss it away at the end.
Do they?
Yes.
Because I thought you could have it just be that if you
It
wanted.
might have
Max
said
is
like
just friends.
kiss or not. Who knows? But someone knows. But I might be wrong. But like,
Who knows? There's no possible way to get the information.
but like, if they said like instead we're gonna do teenage boys that are Hispanic, I'm sure Square Enix was like, this is not as marketable.
Right.
I appreciate that they like went and said like, we have a story to tell. They have to
That's
be
what
like
it is.
this.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead with this one, and I'm sure like if you insist, we'll see.
Yeah.
And it did. I think it did kind of bite them in the ass, because like I do think that game did not have the same meme quality because
Sure.
people did not latch onto those characters like they latched onto Max and Chloe.
Sure.
But I think it's a much better game because they were able to tell that more interesting
Ooh,
story.
interesting. Interesting.
I mean, I also think it's just a much better game because the writing's better, the production value is better.
Sure,
like, stuff
you know,
like that.
you know what you're doing at this, you know what you're doing to a better extent this time.
Yeah.
Interesting. I hadn't really thought about comparing them yet, really.
But
This
I
is
do
so
think they
fresh.
had like some balls on them to actually just go through with it.
100%. No, totally. I agree. I
Like,
said that in the show.
like you mentioned, someone in the first episode says, "This is why we need the fucking wall."
Yeah.
Also, hilariously, someone in that first episode says, "There's politics in everything," as if they're going to be. They were like, "Yo, we know what you're thinking. There's politics in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't assume there's not."
God bless them. I'm glad they went out there and did that. And then my dog Nick96, who I want to apologize to. I complimented having all these questions. We got to 0 of them. I did not realize they had to leave spot on at like 3:15. I apologize. My dog Nick6, Max and Chloe did not need to kiss at the end.
Okay.
So yeah, because I thought that was one of those things that my read on their relationship was that Max was attracted. I played it that way.
Yeah.
But I thought you didn't have to.
I
Have you read this, by the way? Life is Strange Dust?
have not,
Take it
because
home
it has
with
the wrong ending.
Well, spoilers for this comic book. It has both endings. That's the whole point.
Okay.
Is that the multiverse is kind of collapsing upon itself because of what happened in Arcadia Bay.
Okay, then I'm gonna read that.
It's one of those things. It reminded me. It's the same way I described before the storm, where I started. I'm like, this has no business being this good. I expected this to not be good, and this is good. I digress. Ladies and gentlemen, what did you think of Life is Strange 2? Let us know. Thanks for sticking it out for this spoiler cast. If you're new to Kind of Funny, we love it. If you subscribed, we do the Gamescast each and every week. We do games daily each and every day. And in January, we have a whole bunch of different stuff to announce and change and all sorts of crazy crap like that, because that's what we do. Imran, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You just by happenstance fell into this.
Yeah.
Where you started playing it right as I was like, I'm going to do this spoiler cast.
Yeah, you were like, you want to have some questions submitted? I'm like, I'll think of some. And it's like, oh, I'm just going to finish the entire
And then you were
thing.
like, it's game of the year. It's one of my games. I'm like, oh, shit, you got to be on this thing. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, you can support the show by going to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. You can get the show ad-free. You can get it with a pre- and a post show. You can watch it live. You can do all that jazz. If you don't want to give us any of your bucks, I understand. You can wait till Monday when it goes up on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, podcast services, and roosterteeth.com. Until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.